College admission strategy is one of the most gatekept things in the world. Students pay thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their best shot into college. When I was in high school, I was not in the position where I could spend money to get college admissions help. I remember going online and searching literally hundreds and hundreds of hours just to research how to get into college. I found helpful resources and various opportunities that helped me get a full ride scholarship into a top 10 university as a first-generation student. And now I want to help others in the same position as me. Today I'm going to share everything I know about college admissions. I'm going to spill it all for you. If you all are new here, hi, my name is Melody. I'm the creator behind Study For You Bestie, and I've been providing students with free college admission resources for the past 2.5 years. In this video, you'll learn that there is actually a formula to getting into college. This is literally what people spend hundreds and even thousands of dollars for, so get ready to take your notes. I'm going to show you exactly how to get into a top college without breaking your wallet. One of the biggest questions I get asked is, when do you start preparing for college admissions? And the truth is, as early as possible. If you know you want to get into a top college, you should start preparing in your freshman year. Now, if you're an upperclassman, don't worry, I got you. I'll be explaining everything for you as well. The reason why you want to get started in your freshman year is because your 4-year academic plan is so important. You want to start by making sure all of your classes are strategically planned out. Many top colleges actually already have a list of courses you should be taking in high school. For example, with the UCs, they require something called the A to G requirements. This includes things like taking 4 years of English or 1 year of an elective. Every college has different requirements, but at the end of the day, you should know these 4 things. Number 1, try to take as many high-level math classes as possible. Yes, even if you're going to a liberal arts college. Number 2, try to take 4 years of the core subjects: English, math, science, and history. Number 3, take the highest level course available for each subject. This can look like AP classes, IB classes, or honors classes. Now, there are some exceptions, and I will explain it more in detail later on in the video. Number 4, take electives that you actually find are interesting. Even though for this video, I'll tell you the exact strategy for how to get into a top college, it does not mean you should be taking classes only for the sake of college or doing extracurriculars for the sake of getting into a top school. High school is a great time to explore your different interests, whether it's taking an elective about personal finance or classes on computer science, you name it. A side benefit of it is that colleges will also see that you're trying to develop yourself and learn different things. With these 4 things in mind, it's important to start your 4-year plan. Your classes are what shows your academic rigor to colleges. And that brings me to my next big topic. Grades aren't everything, but they do matter. One of the first things that colleges look at is the classes that you take. They want to know that you're academically challenging yourself. They want to see that you have drive in learning and that you follow the lifelong learner path. But also, if you get good grades in these academically rigorous courses, colleges see that as a sign that you're ready to take on the curriculum at their school. So what are the academically rigorous classes I'm talking about? Like I mentioned earlier, these can be things like honors classes, AP classes, or IB classes. AP and IB classes have many benefits in my opinion. If you get good grades in the class, not only can you stand out academically, but with their standardized testing, it actually showcases where you are on a national scale. Many of these AP classes actually replicate intro college classes. So another benefit of taking AP or IB exams is that you can get college credit, which actually saves you thousands of dollars because you get college credit that fulfills your graduation requirement for college, and sometimes these AP courses actually act as a prerequisite for a college course you want to take. So when you're actually in college, you don't need to spend your time working on another introductory class, and instead can move on to the next course you need to graduate. The key thing to know is that each college requires different minimum AP or IB scores in order to transfer as college credit. I'll list some examples up on the screen right now, but the biggest information to know is that a lot of top universities such as Ivy Leagues actually don't take that many AP exams as college credit. There's one AP exam that I've seen most universities take credit for, and that is AP Calculus BC. If you get a 5 on the exam, it can not only be college credit, but also prerequisite for many college courses from multiple universities. Just to share some news with y'all, many AP exams are actually going digital now. Here are some AP exams that are going fully online and AP exams that are going hybrid, which means the multiple choice section will be online, but the free response questions will all be handwritten. So now comes the question, what if you don't have AP or IB programs at your school? The best way to showcase that you're still academically challenging yourself is still by enrolling in the most difficult, rigorous classes offered at your school. This can be an honors class. If available, you can also try signing up for dual enrollment courses with a community college. There's also some students who do independent AP exam studying, which means you learn everything in that AP subject curriculum. So for example, I study up everything I need to know in AP World History, even though it's not offered at my high school. What students do is then they call up different schools who actually offer the AP exam and ask if they can take it with their high school. The same can be applied for other standardized testings like your SAT and your ACT. With standardized testing being required for many college applications again, it really adds another factor for your admissions process. This is one of the more important timelines you need to know about. If you're a high school sophomore, make sure to take the PSAT. Not only is this a great experience for you to see how an SAT exam will look like, it also puts you in an actual testing environment so you can get a feel of what it's actually like. When you're a high school junior, you can take the PSAT again and get awards. This award is known as the National Merit Scholars Program. You can be selected for an award based on a high score you've got on the PSAT. I'm not gonna lie, this is very difficult, and every year it's different because again, it's measured with everyone else, but usually it's people who get about 3 questions or less wrong will be qualified for different awards. There's 3 tiers to this. First is called commended. Then you have your semifinalists. Semifinalists scored higher than the commended students, but now let's talk about the finalists. Not only are they top scorers, you'll need to fill out an application which includes something like writing an essay. And if you get accepted, then you'll become a finalist. But either way, if you qualify for the National Merit Scholars Program, you open up a new door of a vast amount of scholarship opportunities available for you. While we're talking about the SAT and ACT, when a college says they're test optional, do they really mean they're test optional? And the answer is yes. If you choose not to submit your test score, admissions officers won't just automatically throw that away. Instead, they'll just put more weight on other things on your application, such as your grades or your ranking. If you do decide to submit a test score to a test optional school, then more likely, unless they said otherwise, they'll still consider it for the reviewing process. Now, it's also important to know that there's a big difference between test optional and test recommended. For example, if you're planning on applying to Rice University as a fall 2025 applicant, Rice is now test recommended. And since they recommend it, it's probably best for you to submit a test score. So now that we talked about everything academics, let's talk about what you should do outside of school, and that's called your extracurriculars. When you're applying to college, there's going to be an activity section. Here you're going to write about what the title of your activity is, how many hours you spend on the activity, and a really short description of what it is and what you did. Let's first talk about what you should actually do for your extracurriculars. An extracurricular is anything you spend time on outside of class, whether it's having a part-time job, joining school clubs, helping take care of your siblings, even something like translating for your family can be considered an extracurricular. Many admissions consultants talk about the 4 tiers of extracurricular activities. Tier 4 would be things like being a club member at school, mainly focused on participation, but not so much a leadership role. Whereas for Tier 3, we start highlighting different roles such as being a publicity officer of a school club, competing at regional conferences, but maybe not earning an award. Tier 2 is when you take on larger leadership positions such as being a president of a club, MVP of a sports team. And Tier 1 are your nationally recognized, people are like, wow, how did you do that type of accomplishments? Here's my take, and I'm gonna be super honest with y'all. When you're planning what extracurricular activities to do, I don't think you should consider it as, oh, I need to always reach for a Tier 1 activity. I can start as a club member and then climb my way to make it a Tier 2 activity. Yes, it's important to keep it in the back of your head for getting into college, but on a personal level, you need to make sure your extracurriculars genuinely create interest for you. What I'm saying is it's so important for you to go explore different clubs. What I did my freshman year was join over 7 school clubs, things that just sounded interesting. I didn't know if that was going to be my career path. I didn't know if I wanted to major in it in college. I simply joined it because it sounded cool and fun. Then by the time sophomore year rolled around, I narrowed down what clubs I really wanted to commit to. Along the way, I think I actually joined one more club too. And so what I would recommend is trying out as many things as possible in terms of your extracurriculars. Go join that that JV sports team, try out theater, volunteer with your friends. If you have the opportunity to explore, please don't take that for granted. It's crucial to discover the things you genuinely love, and you might surprise yourself on what you actually end up really enjoying. Now, I say this with caution as well, because for me, I'm someone who's interested in a little of everything, so I get involved in a bunch of different extracurriculars, but it's so important to make sure you don't burn out. It's important to try out new things and be involved, but you should also leave time to do your homework, to hang out with friends and family, to leave time for yourself to chill and relax. Don't be afraid to take breaks, and make sure that as time moves on, you narrow it down to a few things that you genuinely want to put full force into. Going back to my example, when I was a freshman, I joined 7 clubs, joined the JV tennis team, so I really had time to explore all of these. By the time sophomore and junior year rolled around, I knew I was taking more difficult classes, so I was going to spend more time on homework and studying. I dropped the clubs I didn't really vibe with anymore and continue to pursue and be active in clubs that I genuinely really love doing. Another thing about school clubs is always trying to make sure to apply for a leadership position. Not only do you get to bond closely with the people you work with, but you essentially get more freedom in creating activities you genuinely want to see happen. And that leads to making impact. There's so many ways to make impact, and it's one of the most important things that colleges look for in your essays and extracurriculars. Y'all already know I love talking about passion projects. It's my passion to talk about passion projects. A passion project is an extracurricular. It's just on a whole nother scale. It's mainly focused on the passion aspect because 1, you need to genuinely be curious and want to learn more about this field that interests you. 2, you're going to be making massive amounts of impact. I think the best way to explain what a passion project is probably through an example, so I'm going to share with you what my passion project was in high school. Halfway through my sophomore year was when quarantine started. While I was at home, I really wanted to make the most of my time and continue learning something that I was really interested in, which is connecting with people, but also podcasts. I was so obsessed with listening to podcasts as a high schooler and also a middle schooler, really into podcasts, wanted to stay connected with my friends during quarantine, so I thought, why not interview my friends and other teenagers and talk about high school things. I ended up creating a podcast called Study Break with the main mission of helping amplify teen voices. With Study Break, I interviewed over 80 guests from all around the world where we talked about things like teen mental health, school, family life, relationships, social problems, world issues, so many of these burning topics that I was really interested in, and I also knew that other teens were interested in listening to. My podcast ended up reaching over 45,000 people and was actually on the top 5 podcast charts in different countries on Apple Podcasts, which still till this day is absolutely shocking to me. But that was literally such a transformative aspect of my life because through that podcast, while I was trying to get people to listen to it, I discovered social media marketing, and it actually leads me to exactly where I am today. And I love creating content, and I love helping others, and I love sharing stories. And so I talked about that in my college essays. To me, this passion project stood out a lot more than my other extracurriculars, like being the club president of an FBLA chapter. Even though it's a national club, this passion project stands out even more because I created it, even though no one prompted me to. I made genuine impact, quantitatively as in having over 45,000 people listening to my podcast, qualitatively as in people sent me DMs saying how much they love my podcast and how it was great to not feel alone through different struggles they were going through. A passion project stands out because you make so much impact not only on others, but also on yourself because it requires so many different skills, networking and talking to people to make your passion project happen, and also really deep reflection to figure out what even is your passion. I wrote a book that tells you step by step how to figure out what your passion is, how to create a passion project, and how to write about a passion project in your college essay. So if you're interested in learning more about it, check it out, link in my description. A passion project also really stands out because of how you talk about it in your college essay, which brings me to talking about how to write a college essay. Quick pause. If you haven't already yet, make sure to hit subscribe so you can see more information like this. Let's start with a personal statement. I made another video about it, so I'm gonna put it in the cards here, but there's basically 5 things you should always keep in mind. Number 1 is to speak in a positive tone. Many times in your personal statement essay, you'll talk about an obstacle you faced. What a lot of students unintentionally do is start ranting or complaining about the obstacle. You need to to avoid this because it's one of the biggest red flags that admissions officers will see right away. Number 2 is focus on writing about yourself. Another common mistake I see people doing is they start talking about an inspirational figure, a role model, and then the essay feels like you're just learning about the role model and you don't learn anything about the student. So please be careful when you're talking about someone else inspiring you. Briefly mention them and why they inspired you, and then talk more about what you did after that with that new inspiration. Number 3, read sample essays as examples and not as inspiration. Many students start reading these YouTube essays posted online, and then when you start writing, you're like, maybe I should format it like what this person did, or create a metaphor like what this person who got into Harvard did. You want to make sure the essay sounds like you. When you read it, it should sound very natural. Not as in it needs to sound like you're talking to your friend, but natural as in it reflects who you are and how you feel. Number 4 is don't structure it like a 5-paragraph essay. One thing that helps a lot of students stand out is by using interesting syntax. And that just means structuring your essay in a more readable way that can be unique and even fun. One student's essay I read that was really interesting is they were talking about throwing trash out of the house and how it connected to different parts of their life. I won't go too much into detail, but what they did that was really interesting is they had onomatopoeias. Boom was just one word in one line by itself, and then it skips to the next line and it goes over the student's thoughts, and then it skips to the next line and it has like a flashback and it goes back to when they were a kid and their family life, and then it flashes back to the present moment with another boom. That just makes the essay so interesting. It's almost like you're telling a story, right? Because at the end of the day, a college essay should be a story. It should be your story. Number 5, don't use your personal statement as a place to dump all of your achievements. Do that in the honors and awards section of the application. You have very precious word count. This is the moment where you have to answer these 3 questions. Once you answer them in your essay, it's how you start writing a great essay. So the first question is, why are you the person you are today? How are the obstacles you face influencing the way you set goals for yourself? What are you doing today that shows you're on the path to reaching what you want to do in the future? In each of your essay, you really want to showcase something new about yourself. It all connects to who you are at the end of the day, but from different stories and different plots. This brings me to talking about supplemental essays. These are typically shorter essays that are different per college, and it includes the infamous Why Us essay. With your Why Us essay, you really want to focus on name dropping unique programs at the college you're applying to. This means doing a lot of research. Then you want to connect what you name dropped to your goals. How is that unique academic program going to help you achieve your goals of becoming an engineer? Another really popular supplemental essay is the Why Major essay. Here you really want to provide context on why do you want to study what you're studying. If you're intending on majoring in computer science, why are you interested in computer science? There's so many different topics within the computer science realm. Is there a specific one that interests you? Are you still exploring what that specific one is? Talk about all of that in your essay. And then again, name drop. What are the facilities they have there that can help you achieve your academic goals? Maybe it's a school like USC that has a great alumni network. Moving on to the last section, I really want to highlight on your college applications, which is the additional information section. This is so often overlooked, and I always like telling students, never leave this blank. If you find it difficult to fit everything you want to say in your college essays and in the activity section, the additional information section is where you talk about everything else. And no, you're not writing an essay for this section. This is where you can bullet point things, write things in a list, be quick and concise about these new information you want to add. I'll share my example of what I wrote for my additional information section. Since I was applying to college with a scholarship program, I really wanted to emphasize my financial needs. So I talked about medical issues that came up and medical bills we had to pay, how I couldn't access many opportunities or resources because my only mode of transportation was really walking to places, taking the bus, or biking. Other things that I've seen students include are explaining why they suddenly have one specifically low grade. This is a topic to watch out for because the biggest mistake I've seen people do is say, oh, I just got a C in this class because my teacher doesn't know how to teach. Guys, please don't do this. If you're explaining a low grade, make sure it's not an excuse. It's honestly a topic that is really hard to phrase in the right way, but students who got low grades because of disabilities, medical issues, that would be a very good time to explain what happened. That was a lot of information, but this is really just the tip of the iceberg. College admissions is honestly just always changing, so it's always good to keep an eye out on updates. You can stay on top of college admissions news by following me on Instagram and on TikTok. I want to create another video where we talk about everything financial aid and scholarships related, so if that's something that interests you, please comment down below. If you haven't already yet, make sure to click subscribe so you're staying up to date with all of my latest videos. I really hope this helps you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Good luck with college applications!